All right, we are back in with a new episode of Keeping Up with Oxford Athletics, and we're here with Coach Bennett. And Coach, how's things been going since the last time I got to come out here? Last week we didn't get our show done, but this week we're doing it. Just kind of catch us up over the last week and a half.
Had a really busy week last week. We had 3 road games, so a lot of road game after road games, testing just in different environments. We had some really challenging environments we played in, which I think was good for growth. Last night we actually played Hewitt-Trussville, which, if you know anything about 7A, like they're a very established program. Played for the state championship last year, gave Hoover a great game. So, great program. Played them really hard, struggled to get some baskets to go down. And then they started hitting big late. But, those are the kind of teams you want to play to really see where you are. And then Friday we got another big one. We play here in the Classic against Spring Garden at 7 o'clock.
Coach, when you play a team like a Hewitt, and we know what kind of run they went on the last couple of years, they've been very competitive in 7A all the way to like you said, they've run into a juggernaut in Hoover, which nobody's been able to solve that problem over the last few years in 7A. But what do you find out about your girls when they go to battle, not just as a team overall, but we're talking about some of the individual battles. You get to see your girl. You can't hide out there when you play at Hewitt-Trussville.
Well, and I think that was, in the past we might have been able to win a few more one-on-one matchups. When you play a great team-oriented defense, just because you can beat one doesn't mean you're going to get a good look at the basket, because they do a great job of playing a team defense. I thought they did a great job of speeding us up. So even when we had good looks, they seemed rushed. So, that's one of those, you got to get back in the gym and watch some film and, you can talk about it, but then replicating it is a whole different story. But those are the teams you want to play to see where you are, and getting us ready and going into area play next week. Those are the kind of competitive teams you want to play to get those assessments and be able to kind of lay it out in front of your kids.
And you mentioned you're playing Spring Garden coming up, and I remember 2 years ago, I believe they went 33-1, and that one was you guys. You were the only team that beat them, and they played teams from out of state and everywhere. You guys, I say that to say this, you guys have had some tremendous battles with them over the last few years, and I think it does good for each program to play each other. Can you talk about the matchup, and then you get to go against one of the greatest to do it in the state's history, Ricky Austin?
Well, and talking about, established programs and phenomenal programs, you can't get much better than Spring Garden. Him and Ace's success, their whole family's success, honestly. He's the kind of coach that other coaches strive to be like. The success that he has, the rapport that he has with his kids, the sustained success, not just in basketball, in every sport that he does. And then, everybody knows Ace. And every interaction that I've had with her, we've actually had outside of just basketball interactions. That's what every player in the state can strive to be like. She's one of the hardest working kids you'll ever meet, always putting in extra work. Even after she signed, she was still putting in extra work with trainers and getting extra reps in the gym. And anytime you play her, she's very humble. She doesn't, flaunt. She just goes to work. In our battles, I will say that one time we got them 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure Ace had a stomach virus, and she still hit a buzzer beater in half court on us. That's one of those, again, those are the kind of games you want to play. Ace is somebody that you can, point to your players and be like, she doesn't have the intangibles that a lot of times you think of with a D1, college basketball player. She's undersized, but with her work ethic, she has surpassed all of that. Phenomenal score, phenomenal point guard. And I don't think people give her enough credit for her rebounding and her defense. I know that was one of our struggles we had every time we played them. Whoever she guarded was pretty much shut down.
Yeah.
So I don't think she gets enough credit for how good of a defender she is.
You guys don't shy away from competition either, like when we've talked with Coach Van about who they play as well. But talk about, the ability to go out and play all these good teams in and around your area right here, and you don't have to go far to do so. But it makes you guys better as a whole. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Absolutely. And, it's one of those, you as a coach, you got to kind of balance it because, I know one year some crazy coach scheduled Hoover and Hazel Green back to back, and that was, I think that was Hoover's 3 out of 4 and Hazel Green's 6th, 7th, whatever it was. So sometimes coaches will get a little excited with that scheduling, but I do think you have to have a balance. And when you're playing quality opponents, I think a lot of times you can get just as much from that loss and find those areas where you need to grow when you play those really quality opponents. They're probably going to take away that first option, a lot of times that first and second option. So I think those quality opponents really give you a chance for your kids to grow, and really that's where you're going to get better.
Talk about the Classic coming up from the girls' side. What girls' teams are going to be involved in the Classic this year?
I believe it's just us in Spring Garden that are in this year. Last year, Hoover played in it against Woodward out of Georgia.
Okay, so it's just you guys this year. Okay. Still, that's a great matchup for anybody in and around the area that loves girls basketball. And to me, I think girls basketball is one of the fastest growing sports in our state by far and away, because they've had a lot of star power in and around this area. Coach, before we get you out of here, let's talk about area play a little bit now that's gotten underway. How are you guys doing in area so far?
Well, our first area game is actually next Tuesday.
Okay, next Tuesday, okay.
So, it's one of those, I actually really like playing a area game before Christmas because it does give you a little bit more time on that back end to make your adjustments. Our area, Pell City, is always solid. They have played an absolute gauntlet of a schedule. So sometimes, numbers can be deceiving with that when you start looking at who people are playing. Shades Valley is always extremely athletic. I don't know where they grow those kids, but I wish we could get some of that height and some of their athleticism. So it's always a competitive area. And that's one of those, playing these two really good opponents in Hewitt and then Spring Garden. I feel like that gives us kind of a landscape, like, here's how people could try to attack us. Here's what we need to get better at. So it's always good going into area play to have those tough opponents to get you ready for it, because you want to be clicking on all cylinders going into area.
What do you think you got to get out of your girls to get them, like you said, clicking on all cylinders? I know it's a tournament. Basketball to me is a tournament sport. It matters what you do in those area tournament, regional tournament, obviously Final Four, but going in area play to host that tournament is what you want more than anything. So talk about that. Like, how do you get these girls to be peaking, not really peaking for the entire season, but definitely peaking ready to play in this area?
Well, and I think that's a challenge, playing an early area game and then playing all January. Having a 3-team area, it's extremely critical to have that first place seed, because you have that automatic bid. So just understanding kind of the importance. We have a lot of youth. We really only have about 3 that have had significant varsity minutes. So getting them to understand the magnitude of those area games, you can bold them on your schedule or whatever, but getting, a 8th grader and a 9th grader to wrap their head around, this game, it does mean more.
Yeah.
Your conference games, whatever the sport is. But clicking on all cylinders, being able to shoot well always helps. And I think being able to recognize what the defense is giving you. And I think that's something that, you talked about girls basketball growing. I think that's something that a lot of players watch individuals and their highlight films and stuff like that, but maybe not spend as much time watching actual games. If they're, trying to cheat the screen, or they're trying to cheat the handoff, being able to slip something, it's harder for kids now to grasp those ideas. So being able to kind of work through those things and teaching a lot of your younger ones, what a read is, how to read those things, is always a challenge, and that's something I feel like coaches now probably work on almost daily.
Off the record, how do you get your girls dialed in? Because you just said it, we live in a different generation now. Getting them to watch film's one thing, getting them to watch, comprehend, and then go execute's another thing. How do you keep them dialed in on things like that?
I think that there is no secret sauce on that, because I think it's different for every group. Some of it is their passion for the game.
They gotta want it.
They gotta want it. I have a lot of volleyball first kids, and that's something that you can't put a love for the game into kids.
That's right.
You try to do things. We're going to a college game tonight. State's playing. One of our former players is playing. trying to mix things in like that, the team dinners and stuff like that. Trying to, when we do those, a lot of times we're watching games or at least having them play. If they run a set similar to ours, like, we point that out, pause it, rewind it, whatever. But I definitely think that's a challenge because, we can remember TikToks, but we can't remember a play.
That's right. That's right.
And that is extremely frustrating. But that is, that's part of this generation.
TikTok's created that, I think, because it's short, quick,
Yeah, it's
gratifying, move on. Well, sometimes you got to sit down, roll your sleeves up, and get to work.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts, Coach, before we shut this episode down?
No. We hope to see everybody at the Classic. Going to be a lot of great games. First game starts at 4 o'clock on Friday. Our game's at 7. Our boys play right after us. So going to be a lot of great basketball in OHS Sports Arena.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.